This is owner Abbas Hussain from Behind the Gloves. I'm here with Eddie Hearn. Eddie, we had the James DeGale press conference where you've announced that Carl Froch has vacated his IBF title and James DeGale is going to fight for that, maybe against Andre Durrell. How's negotiations coming along with Andre Durrell?
Very early. This has all happened in the last sort of 24 hours, and you know, we'll continue negotiations with our Heyman and the team to try and get that fight made. Like I said, with the O2 Arena and, you know, Sky Sports behind us, I think it's difficult for them to get James over in America. If it has to work that way, not a problem. James will go, but we're pushing for that fight to take place on April the 25th. And obviously, if Andre Durrell doesn't want the fight, then it goes down to the next available contender, so which is Gilberto Ramirez. So lots of work to do over the next few days, but very confident that April the 25th will be the date that James DeGale becomes world champion.
And whichever fight you might negotiate with and actually pull off the fight with, it's still going to be a hard fight, because we look down the ranks. There's Gilberto Ramirez, there's George Groves, and then there's good amount of fighters.
I mean, look, Durrell is a brilliant fighter, and that's a really tough fight. It's a great fight, you know, two real top level 168 pounders, so you know, that's who's next. The only way it can be anyone else is if Andre Durrell doesn't want the fight, so you know, we'll see what happens.
I wanted to ask you, there was some two-way interaction between yourself and George Groves yesterday. Can you just speak to me a bit about that? You know, he said that it's
frustrating. We spoke to him previously about, you know, trying to find a way to fight for the IBF title. There was a way to try and fight for the WBA title. It's very simple. It's a 50-50 split between two well-ranked super middleweights, but he feels that it shouldn't be a 50-50 split, and obviously, you know, this is a chance for a huge British super fight for a world title. You know, people can say, oh, it's not worth it, it's nothing. Of course it is. There's a genuine world title on the line, and you don't want 50-50 against a guy that you've already beaten. So why? And I don't know whether it's ego or whether it's belief that he actually won't win the fight, but ultimately we've got to move on. And you know, if George Groves doesn't want to play, then he can wait around till September, October for Anthony Durrell, and maybe not at all. But I mean, here's a chance in April to make that happen, and we weren't able to, and it was very frustrating.
Was there any sort of negotiations between yourself and Saudi?
No, I wouldn't say negotiations. You know, I'm obviously quite close with Calla, and we've had a lot of discussions with it, but George just wasn't, you know, it wasn't, you know, again, going from a common sense angle, it's just so strange. You know, you can fight Anthony Durrell in America, probably in September, October, or you can fight James DeGale in April for 10 times as much money in London. I mean, what is there to think about? You know, but that's the frustrating thing about the sport.
And obviously you want to talk about Carl Froch. How long is it before he returns back into the ring, if he does?
Well, I think he'll be ready probably end of May, early June.
Okay.
You know, we'd still love to make the Chavez fight. Golden Boy and HBO have been on about the Hopkins fight. They're keen to make that fight. That would be over here.
Okay.
So I think, you know, it's got to be a fight that really gets him up for it. He's a fighter that, you know, doesn't rely on natural ability and skill. He relies on hunger, determination and will to win. And if he hasn't got those three elements in his mind and in his heart and in his body, he's not the same fighter. So why jeopardise everything you've done just to take a fight? Doesn't need the money, you know. So I think he's earned the right to choose the fights that he's in, and you know, I liked Froch versus DeGale, and I think that fight can happen in time, but just not right now.
Okay. I just wanted to find out your thoughts on Mayweather Pacquiao finally. If that fight was ever to take place, what are your thoughts, and who do you think would win that fight?
I think obviously it's a great fight. Everyone wants to see. I think it's a close fight. I know Mayweather's a big favourite going in, but I think Pacquiao's got a great chance. You know, 1 minute you hear it's on, then it might not be, then you don't know, and I hope it gets made. I can't see it not getting made now. I don't know. I think it's gone too far down the line. I think a lot of people would be very disappointed, but we thought it was close before and it didn't happen, so time will tell.
Finally, what sort of matchroom events are coming up in the next couple of weeks? Or next
we've got
month?
Brian Rose against Carson Jones and the prize fighters on February the 14th. February the 21st, Paul Smith against Arthur Abraham. I mean, you know, you're in a position where you could have 3 world champions. Even if George Groves fights Durrell later in the year, we could have 4 world champions in the super middleweight division. So it's great times. That's that fight. And then March 7th we're in Hull. and then March the 28th, of course, Kell Brook against Jojo Dan, Frankie Gavin, Gavin McDonald, Cal Yafai has a huge bill in Sheffield. April the 4th we're in Newcastle with Anthony Joshua's return. Bradley Saunders against Dave Ryan. Both Dickinson brothers. April the 11th we're in Leeds with Josh Warrington, which is just mad. And then April the 25th at the O2. So it's very busy, very busy.
Okay, Eddie, thank you very much for talking to Behind the Gloves. Appreciate it.